If you've ever felt like the third wheel, this podcast is for you.
If you love Wheel of Time, this podcast is for you.
If you're bored and have nothing better to do, this podcast is for you.
Join Rob,
Megan,
And Jenn
in celebrating the Wheel of Time
and its statistically best fandom
and ridiculous gaming skills,
and probably a few cocktails.
and find out which one of them will be the third wheel this time.
This is
three-wheeling.
That was the most soothing music I've ever heard in my life.
I don't know if you can see Meg and Jen, but all I saw in the background was Ali just like bopping side to side enjoying the music.
That was such a lovely way to wake up today.
Wonderful.
Wow, that music's really nice. I really liked that. 10 out of 10 for the music this morning.
Well, that's it. We're done. The episode is over then. That's it. We've got 10 out of 10 easy. So.
Stamp of approval.
Thank you very much. Welcome to episode 2 of Three Wheeling. As you can tell, we are joined by, well, he hasn't said anything yet, but Ali and Gus.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for being our first guests.
I'm sorry
we're
we're
so
late.
excited. Yeah, we're so sorry we're late. We have been committed to sucking lately.
I'm right there with you.
We're doing our best work lately.
I take that pledge.
Yeah, but I'm glad you had us on because we often have been told we make people feel like a third wheel. So it's good to, keep it going.
Yeah, good. Nice. I get it. You never make us feel, you'll never make me feel like a third wheel.
No, we try actively not to do that.
We are recording this at about 8 something in the morning our time, and it's funny because we were running late. And then as we sat down, my watch pinged me and said, "You've been falling asleep way later than your target bedtime lately."
And you're like, no
I was
way.
like, wow, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, we had no idea.
So,
Didn't figure that out this morning.
for bearing with us, everybody. You're all very kind people.
Well, I told Rob and Meg before you guys got here that because it's raining in Los Angeles this morning, and we all know, everyone knows that you guys have been dealing with flooding. We as well, David and I have been dealing with flooding. So as I was like trying to run up here to get on, I was running out in the backyard to fix the things that had broken off and the rain, because the rain came 2 hours before it was supposed to come. I was like, I'll be done with the podcast before the rain gets here. I'll go out later.
Mm-hmm.
I was out at 5:30 this morning bringing my laundry in.
Here's the thing that people don't understand. Here's the thing that people don't understand about LA. There's no infrastructure for rain. There's none. And no one knows how to drive in it. And so it's like the most stressful day. And for no reason. You're like, anywhere else, this would be just a Tuesday or whatever day it is today. It's a Saturday. But, it'd be just like a regular day. But then you add rain. And for some reason, everyone in LA just falls apart. And I was telling them, and this is so true, when I was an executive and I had back-to-back Zoom meetings in LA, 90% of them would be canceled during the rain. At least 50% would be not happening. And it would
like a snow day anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's a rain
No one would
day.
say it was rain. No one would say that because everyone knows how stupid that sounds. It'd be like, oh, my meetings got pushed back. Like,
I can't. Something else came up.
Can't do it today. I'm so sorry. It'd be like a really lame excuse. And then after a while I just noticed the correlation it's always when it's raining that my Zoom meetings get canceled. So anyway, we're not a tough people out here.
It's mad. It's the opposite here. I look out the window, I'm like, oh, wow, it's not raining. That is surprising.
Cancel your meetings.
I'm like,
right.
There's sunshine outside. I better call in sick.
That's right.
Get that vitamin D when you can.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, you have to get what you can get, people.
Well, thanks so much for having us. And we didn't cancel on you despite the rain, which makes us really brave. And
we're so proud.
Your bravery.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I would say on Threefold Talk, ramen rattle. So there's your ramen rattle.
Nice.
Ramen rattle.
It's a long story behind it, Ali. If I start telling you now, we'll be doing it next week still. So it's a very long story behind the ramen rattle.
I like the mystery.
Yeah, it's a sign of G. So there we go. And it's got nothing to do with the books whatsoever. It's entirely a Threefold Talk thing.
It's entirely, you made that up. And I love that for you. I love that.
Meg, what are you drinking today?
Meg kicks us off with cocktails every week.
Yes, I do. So today our Wada cocktail, which I think that's what we're coining it as, is
I
Wada
think
Water
so.
cocktail.
cocktail. Yeah.
Yes, is the Basil Gill. So yeah, so it's a lemon basil martini. So again, just this lemon basil vodka martini is bright and refreshing cocktail that reminds us of one of our favorite innkeepers. So recipe is pretty simple. So in a shaker with ice, you're going to pour 2.5 ounces of basil infused vodka. I have this vodka di Fiori from Total Wine, and it's delicious. About $30 a bottle.
They are
wanna
not
sponsor us.
sponsoring us.
Yeah, they're not sponsoring
But
us,
they
but they
may.
want,
Oh,
they want
please.
to,
Oh
they
my
can.
God. I would love it if they would.
But they may.
They're allowed.
They may. If
I'm
they'd
going to
like
push
to.
for that. Okay.
love
That's
it.
my new goal in life.
On Wheel Takes, when we accidentally drop a brand, we go, I always like to go, this podcast is brought to you
And
by,
I
and
have
Gus
to
goes,
go,
it's
"It's
not.
All right, Meg, you and I need to like work on that then. You know.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. My life would be complete if I could. So anyways, so 2.5 ounces of basil infused vodka, 1 ounce of lemon juice, and 1 ounce of simple syrup. Shake and strain into a martini glass and garnish with a basil leaf if desired. So
Are you
it's
showing it
delicious.
to us?
Oh,
For
yes.
those people who are watching
Cheers.
live.
The chug.
Nice. Love it.
It looks so good.
It does.
It is delicious.
And Rob, are you water cocktailing?
I just know I was trying. So we're gonna do like our game later is never have I ever. We play that at the end of the show, and we were thinking about doing the Great Captains. So I was like, I need like an old man drink, because even the young Great Captains, give off those old vibes. So I went for something that's port related because I was like, they drink port. That sounds like a Great Captain sort of drink. And then I wanted I just did old port drinks, and a port old fashioned came up, but then I didn't have the ingredients, so I butchered it. So
I think you improvised it.
I improvised. There we go. I improvised it. So we have 1 part port, 1 part bourbon, and then 1 part a lemon, ginger, honey, simple syrup combination.
Ooh.
And then because I need it to last longer when we play the game later, I've topped it with an old style cloudy lemonade and just built it together because they're not going to carry ice around with them when they're off fighting wars. So you can't shake it over ice or anything like that. So that's my excuse. I don't have ice.
A giant mug full of coffee.
Love it.
Nice.
Very, very exciting.
Love that.
Excellent.
Because I have to go and rehearse for like 4 hours in a little bit.
I currently have nothing, but now I feel inadequate. Wait, it's good.
To be fair, we did not warn you that we start the show with a cocktail.
No, you did. I just totally forgot. Hold on.
It's also 8 in the morning in LA, so
It is.
Hey, no judgment.
and I am drinking. Gus, you'll appreciate this. I'm drinking out of my new mug.
Yes, I was looking at that. That's fantastic.
From Pam's Coffee, which is not our sponsor, but they should be. This is a Quentin Tarantino's new coffee shop with Pam Grier all over it and based on the movie Coffee, but next door to the Vista Theater, which is delightful and now opened and which he now owns. And so I'm drinking my homemade latte. I did not put any simple syrup in this morning, but I did put a drop of rum chata so that I could sort of participate.
Nice.
Yeah.
In the game.
And Allie, what are you drinking?
I got key lime LaCroix.
Nice.
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 That.
I won't get drunk, but I might burp.
That's all right. That's good. And the ASMR of opening it on mic was quite nice.
Really yes. We do like to do that on mic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we love to drink LaCroix while we record.
Uh,
we'll have like
and all the rest of the time.
in case LaCroix would like to sponsor
this
Wheel
podcast
Takes
is brought to
the
you
Wheel
by-
Takes podcast.
It's not.
Yay!
Wish.
Screaming Spud Monkeys is not cocktailing this morning. Got to save his fortitude for later. And Charlie, Charlie's a bit poorly, so she's just having a hot Ribena.
Oh, nice. I feel. Speaking of ads, and this is the smallest. I know I keep doing. But I think it's funny. There was a moment where I feel like I made it once we got on Spreaker and started getting ads. Where you all who live in the Midwest will appreciate this. I've heard an ad on our podcast for O'Reilly's Auto Parts.
Oh my god!
And I felt like I had made it.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I was in the shower listening to my own podcast because I'm a narcissist, and I literally exited the shower and was like,
Meg,
"All right,
let's talk social media. You are a social media sorceress, or as Jen likes to call you, and I will forever beep it out. What do you call it, Jen?
Social media.
It is what that feels like, isn't it? A little bit.
I beep it out podcast every time, so it's only the patrons who will ever know that Jen calls Meg that.
Yes, but it is meant with love. It is meant with love. It is.
All right, Meg, has anything happened this week? I feel like
There's
it's
a
not been
lot
busy.
that's happened this week, so I'm gonna try to like go through it pretty quick. Okay, so Alexander Wilhelm, who plays Tom, put a photo of himself captioned in that read, "Enjoyed so much playing Tom in the Wheel of Time. This guy is such a fun character to play. Would you like to see him again?" And then obviously, so we know he filmed Tom for season 3, so we will see that. He also filmed a TV show, The Head, with Alvaro Morte, and posted a picture of them together. So I thought
They aren't
that
allowed
was
to do things outside of
interesting.
the Wheel of Time together.
Well, I didn't know if they happened to like be filming in a similar location to Wheel of Time. So that's
Okay,
what
fair.
like kind of brought it to my
Fair.
attention.
Yes.
Like, does that mean that Logain and Tom are together, and then that made it easy to film The Head together? Was my question. I don't know.
Interesting. All right.
I did not know they were in this together. I've only just finished season 3 of Vikings, so I need to catch up on other shows that actors are in to catch up. But I'll put it on the list.
Excellent.
Okay, I'll keep going. So Maddie posted a photo of her and Ayula sitting on a hill overlooking an ocean amongst a crowd of people. And so they're hanging out offset. Ayula turned 30 this week. So it said last day of season 3, first day of 30. This was what was interesting. So there was, and I put it in our chat. So there's a picture of a whiteboard that says, when you're working on your birthday and everyone is a 10 out of 10, thank you for everyone for all the wonderful, kind, and lovely messages. The picture shows a whiteboard with messages and photos. Some of the photos have been covered by Ayula. And then Maddie wrote, "Happy Dirty 30 woman," like something, ... I couldn't read it, woman, love Mads. And then Rosamund said, "So don't worry, 30 comes with a teeny bit more responsibility." So I thought that was cute.
I kind of want to go back and do my 30th again just so I can get that whiteboard worth of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just pretty amazing.
It is a very cool whiteboard.
Yeah.
Like
also, she posted baby pictures.
Yeah.
That's
and everybody was posting like birthday messages to her and stuff. And I feel like she went around to a lot of people. And coincidentally, it's now torrential rain here, by the way, folks. I've just looked out my window.
Oh, we manifested that.
Yeah, apparently so. You like give it all to me, and then you guys can still have your Zoom meetings and things.
Thank you. Because you can handle it.
I feel like she spent a bit of time going around and thanking people because, and I've waited all day. I haven't told Meg or Jen this, but I literally got off the tram going to work at 6:20 this morning, and I received a message from her on Instagram saying, "Thank you so much for wishing me a happy birthday." Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't do anything special, so that can't be just me thing. It's got to, I feel like she's gone to everyone who posted happy birthday. It's probably sent like a whole bunch of messages out to people.
That's so cute of her.
It's so sweet, isn't it? It's
adorable.
lovely.
And now I'm really regretting my life choices that I didn't say something. But I think
I know.
I think it's also,
I have met her and talked to her, so that probably helped a smidge. But yeah,
I think that is clearly her request to be a guest on Threefold Talk.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see if we can fit her in. We'll think about it. So.
Amazing.
Love that.
Oh, that's great. All right, Meg, what else you got?
God, there's just so much. So,
we need a social media jingle. Social media.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just going to cut that out. That'll work, Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Record that, cut that, clip it. Perfect.
Yeah, that was it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
No music needed. Just that.
Raga Ragnars, I'll say it, try it like she does, posted in an Insta Q&A. So someone asked, what TV show or movie do you want to do next? And she said, anything really. I am ready for more work right now. It's been slow for auditions and self-tapes. So if you can throw some magic my way, I would gladly accept it. So that makes me a little bit nervous. Like, is she not filming a ton for what?
Well, they might have. I mean, if she was in the Two Rivers, as we have questioned, then she might have
been done.
They finished up a while ago.
They did, yeah. They were finished in Prague.
And
God, like,
to be fair,
months goes on.
She's not making a ton of money off the show. I mean, you know,
No.
those actors who are in just a few episodes a season are out there self-taping and out there auditioning because
You're always thinking about your next job.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's no work right now, and there's still
no
slow.
work right now. Yeah, it's tough. So yeah, she's not wrong. It's very slow right now.
Yeah.
I feel you, Raga.
Yeah, we all are there with
We
you.
feel you. Yes, we are.
Yeah. It's got to be tough. Yosha got himself a dog, I think. Is that
Yep,
last
got himself a dog.
Oh,
And then also
yay.
so sweet, super cute. I don't know what kind of dog, but almost is it the Weimaraners that are like the no, that's not what I'm thinking of. I don't know, but it was like a light brown, short-haired dog, very cute.
I'm very good at identifying dog breeds. I'm like freakishly good. Hold on. I'm gonna
Wow. Okay. I mean, I joked that he should name the dog Asmodean. So I was
That's
like, look,
amazing.
clearly Asmodean for season 3 is confirmed. So
Yes, that's
For
perfect.
sure.
And I had to think twice about saying that in front of Ali, and I'm like, no, wait, that's far earlier in the book.
I know.
I know who he is, and I know how he goes out.
Yeah. I was like, no, the point Ali is in, he's been and gone. It's just safe to say.
The only thing I don't know is who killed him, but I do have my theory, of course.
I remember you have a theory. I don't remember what your theory is, and
what is it? I'm curious. Yeah,
it's Grendel.
Okay.
We were just, and
I have a whole. It's a whole thing. I was just like, I will solve this, and yeah, the shiver got me. I was like, okay, so that's got to be a clue, and then I went down a theory rabbit hole.
I could just get on the side, and he's just like, I thought this was 3 Weirding, not our podcast.
Y'all do whatever you want.
This week, it's a little of both.
It's a little of both.
I'm the one who's gonna have to leave early, so I'm here for the ride.
This is true. Well,
that's him telling me, Ali, shut up. I want to talk about that.
Because we only have half an hour of Gus time left.
Yes,
Perhaps we should move on to the main event.
Absolutely.
Jen suggested this for our second episode because the first episode was just getting to know us. We hung out, we talked social media, we played games. But this time, Jen suggested that we go over something that I didn't know existed until Jen mentioned it, and that is Rafe's original pilot for the first episode. So I think I perused it for about 5 seconds, and I was like, we're going to have some fun, and then we need more industry professionals to help us talk about this. So, of course, I think us were our first thoughts about this. So.
It's funny you say original because based on looking at it, I bet it'd been in development for like 4 years or so.
Yeah. I was like, what draft is this actually?
Yeah.
And even just
45.
Well, that's actually what I was going to start with, was asking you guys, because right on the top, it's already got Sony in there, it's already got Red Eagle in there, and I was like, oh, this is deep. This is well into the process.
The amount of executive notes that have gone into that pilot.
But it doesn't have Rosamund yet because Moiraine is explicitly described as short.
That's right. Okay, because I was like, in fact, there was one thing that he wrote in there that I was like, did he write that specifically so that Rosamund would say yes or something? There was something about it, but you're right. It does say she's short, and there was something else where I was like, oh, she would have been like, maybe not. Like, but there was enough strong stuff that she could read it and be like, yeah, I'm in. But you're right, it wasn't written for her. There was also something that he wrote that I was like, let's see, I wrote, this is written it says 2018, the date on it's 2018. It already says Sony. Where were they in the process? He'd already sold the idea to them, but Red Eagle is involved, which they had to be involved in the beginning. And so I said, was this the script that got them the green light, is my question. Because I think what this is like, they're in development, they're probably going to do it, but they hadn't yet officially greenlit the show. And I was like, and this is this is kind of what I wanted to bring up in the beginning of it, which is like, what is, like Ali and Gus and I know the process of like trying to get someone to bite. And it's the game of like, this is exactly like this thing that was super successful called Game of Thrones. Like, so there's sex in it, and there's like kind of magic, and then
blood.
Right. But it's also completely original. You've never seen anything like this before, because we're going to pleasure the women, and it's not just about like sexual violence against women. It's the opposite of Game of Thrones. And I was like, it's to me, it's like as a marketing, as a selling tool, like trying to get someone to buy.
What was that affectation to your voice just now?
as being Rafe, obviously.
your pitch voice.
Yeah,
You know?
it's your pitch
That's
voice.
how I pitch Meg.
Like, this
I,
is-
That's why I have such a
misheard
great
that and thought
career.
it was like pit voice, like a pit boss. I was like, what? And then no pitch.
No.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Everyone has a pitch voice. Everyone has
Yeah.
a pitch voice where they're like, this is going to be, because you have to make it like professional,
Yes.
but exciting,
The
because
guy-
you're storytelling,
Yes.
but also trying to sell something.
Yeah.
So it's both.
Some
It's
people
really
call it
natural.
podcast voice.
Mm.
So, depends on what
Yeah.
you're going for.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It becomes this, you snap into it. Like,
Mhm. You fall
you're
right
like,
into it.
this meets this, but it's also got its own spin. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
In a
exactly like
world
everything you've
where
seen
there's
before.
magic.
Yeah, exactly. that.
No, it's exactly that. And
Let me paint a picture for you.
let me paint a picture.
Sit down. Get
Here's-
comfy.
Here's my elevator pitch. Yeah, it's a lot.
Imagine a woman who's stressed out.
Oh,
Maybe
all
she's
women.
short. We'll find out.
and then Jen, a struggling writer in her 20s, and you're like, I can't.
Yes. Yes.
Wow,
But
I did
it's-
not know there was such a thing as a
writer.
pitch voice. I'm learning so much today. This is
Well, there
amazing.
can be.
When David and I teach pitching classes, which we did for a long time, like or pitching seminars or whatever, we're always like, your executives like to be told a bedtime story. Like they want to
Yes.
be entertained. They want to be told the story in a way that holds their attention, but also so that they can actually like switch over to their phone for a minute and kind of ignore you and then still catch back up. Yeah. And I'm not bagging on executives. I'm just like, everybody's really busy in this town, and you're just like, you've got to keep them engaged, but also respect that they don't want to hear a story for an hour and a half. Make it quick.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
busy people. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Well, there was a while where you were reading, 10 scripts a day or something like that?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
It was good for me. It was good for me to read that much, but it's a lot of scripts, and
Yeah.
many of them are respectfully the same. And so that's why I was
Well,
like, if I read one more
by the way,
struggling writer in their 20s,
That's not a bad thing that all the scripts are the same, because there are only like 7 stories that have
Yeah.
ever existed, and we're just
Right.
apropos for the Wheel of Time, we're just kind of telling them all again and again, but differently with our own perspective and human voice behind them. So,
but you
yeah.
can you can feel the like executive notes, and the Game of Thrones just came out. Everyone's looking for their version of that. That's
Yeah,
what's
it's
popping around in all
all
the
over
executive
this one.
meetings.
Mhm.
It's like, where's our, because every time there's a like hit show that's out, right? Like the last time I was in an executive meeting, it was The Bear. Like everyone was like, where's our The Bear? We
Right.
want our The Bear.
Yeah.
So you can feel like what the where's are is in this moment.
Well, I feel like even now Game of Thrones still kind of has that shadow, because people are calling Shogun, oh, it's like Game of Thrones,
Right.
but in Japan.
In China or in Japan. Yeah.
When I feel like the people who were working on it are like, no, it's more like Succession, but the media and the publicity is like, no, my God, you guys remember how Game of Thrones had swords and blood?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It does. Yeah, that shadow for sure hasn't left, but it's the same way. Okay. And Allie and Megan, this is for you, and Gus, for you too. But in preschool, that shadow is a big, large shadow cast by a little blue dog.
Oh
Yup,
my God.
yup.
Make it bluey.
Bluey.
Make it-
but
It's valid and it's fair, because it is the
Yes.
best thing ever written in the history of television.
It's true.
It is.
It's true.
Period.
Bluey
End
is
of
the best
story.
show
Sorry,
in the
babe.
world. And you
Uh-huh.
don't have to be a kid to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's
You
just
do not.
good.
We were at a
Jen can
wedding.
attest. I don't cry in anything. I cry in Bluey.
I
Routinely.
have
Absolutely.
I have no idea
full
what blue
body
is. I
sob.
don't-
You
Rob, you don't
watch it, Rob.
understand.
I think we've just discovered who the third wheel is this week.
Yeah, we
It's
just
an
discovered.
Australian children's show, and it's about a little blue.
Wait,
wheeler
I live to
dog.
New Zealand. How do I not know this show?
I don't know.
It's new.
You
It well,
gotta catch
yeah,
up.
it's
You have to
It
watch
is-
it.
Yeah.
It's on Disney
perfection.
Plus.
The episodes are
best
like
show.
10 minutes long,
7.
7 minutes long.
Wow.
They
Perfection.
make you cry. They're beautiful.
When I have a bad day, I come home and I put Bluey on.
Yeah,
Like,
I know when I get home from work. What's
Our
happening.
mom has said
Mom and
that
Dad,
when
if you're
when
listening.
she loses her mind, and like when she's old in the home, she says, "Just turn on Bluey, and I'll be happy."
Just put on
Yeah.
a DVD of Bluey and she'll be fine.
Yeah.
But and our dad too. Like I think Mom and Dad are both listening today, actually. And so if you are, you'll appreciate this. But when I was starting to make, when I created Little Ellen, the show Little Ellen, which is a preschool show, Dad kept saying, "Can you just make it?" It's Dad's voice. That's what I was doing. Can you just make it like Bluey? I was like, No, Dad, I can't make it like Bluey. It's a different
Yeah.
show. And nobody can make Bluey because Bluey's
Nobody can make
perfect.
Bluey. It's special. It's perfect. It's lightning in a bottle.
It is.
But I think the thing that's really funny about that is like, I don't know if this happens to you. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it happens to you more than it happens to me. But they'll be like, make it Bluey, right? And then you do that, and then they go, what's going on, you know? And then you go, well, Bluey did it, and they go, yeah, but that's Bluey.
Yes. They can do that on Bluey. They could get away with it. We
Bluey
can't
can do
that.
anything it wants. Like Bluey.
I know. It's true. So, well, okay. So this is Rafe trying to find Bluey to me with like reading the pilot is like, and it's nothing against the pilot. And it's also shocking. Clearly this is way down the line because so much of what's in here ended up on the screen. So this clearly is not the first pass he took at it. Like it's not the first, not to say that he wouldn't knock it out of the park in the first pass, but it's clearly been through enough. He's created enough agreement around this story that is what they're going to make and what they did make. But you're also like, you're chasing the Bluey of it. You're really, I think that's a new phrase that we need to use. Chasing the Bluey.
Chasing the Bluey.
Right.
Yeah, that definitely is what that feels like.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest changes that I noticed that I actually, and I know a lot of people had, we're kind of like, where was it until this season, was the cut where they got rid of that whole opening scene of her, you know, yelling about the dragon reborn and that the dragon had come. And I had a couple, and I'm sure you have thoughts about this. I had a few thoughts about why that ended up being cut. And I think I agree with it. But yeah, Jen, why do you feel like they made that big cut?
Well, I thought it was funny because I was like, I had read this ages ago and sort of forgotten. Like I read it before season 2, I think. And then in rereading it for this, I was like, oh yeah, they did bring that scene back in season 2. And then I was like, wait, no, it must have been in season 1. And then I went back and I was like, no, it was in season 2. I just watched season 2. They saved it for like an entire year, which is, or however many years, which is amazing. But I think, and I also like that they changed the tone of it because the ending of that scene. So, Megan, you haven't read it yet, but the ending of the scene of Guitarra says, the dragon is born, Moraine, you have to find him and kill him. And I feel like that was the mystery they were setting up in season 1 instead of who's going to be the dragon. The mystery was, is Moraine going to kill him when she finds him or her?
And the mystery is very important because you want something, some kind of question, like a plot or story question that's going to make you want to keep watching, especially during those like very exposition-y bits that are inevitable in fantasy. You want something that's going to keep you going. You know, who's going to be the person on the throne in Game of Thrones is the mystery that keeps that show going and keeps you engaged and keeps you watching and keeps you through all of that stuff where it's like so-and-so of how so-and-so, where my mom would be like, I'm asleep. I missed that. I don't care.
Is anybody on the chair yet? No? All right, let's keep going.
Yeah. Whereas my mom watched the pilot of Wheel of Time and was like, Layla's the Dragon Reborn. Like that's what she decided. She was like, it's Layla.
For a minute. She thought that for about 20 minutes.
Until Layla died.
And then she was like, oh my God.
And then she was shaken by Layla's death. She was really surprised. So I feel like they cut that in part because it took really long to get to the inciting incident with that scene in there.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, especially in a pilot, you don't want to meander too long before you get to the kind of why we're here and like get into that click in moment. So there was that. And then also having a time jump in a pilot is hard.
Right.
Because time jumps are really difficult because you kind of like get introduced to the stakes of a place and the like characters in a place. I mean, think of like House of the Dragon. Some people were like,
I was just about to talk about that.
Yeah, because you fall for the actors that are in that moment and you fall for the stakes of that moment. You get sucked in by that. And then all of a sudden you have to do that work all over again once you do a time jump of more than, if it's more than like,
it was like 4 episodes in, I think, too, for House of the Dragon, right?
Yeah. And so,
I also,
it's hard.
And I also think that it was, I feel like there was a little bit of Rafe trying to say, hey, the ageless thing is going to be hard to do, but if we show Moraine here and we show her 20 years later and she basically looks the same,
Yeah.
then like I'm honoring the books in that sense.
Right.
But I think for anybody who didn't know the books going in, it would have been like, what do you mean 20 years later? She looks the same. What the
Same.
F is going
Yeah.
on? Like, it's just, I think it would have been a really, I think it would have been a confusing
Hard
thing
to wrap
bring
your
in,
head around.
Yeah.
to bring
Yeah.
in
Watcher.
new viewers to that element until it kind of like gets explained later on. And it's great in season 2 when she's like, you've been gone for decades, and we're like, what?
my
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then we see the scene with Katara, and we see her saying, like, looking almost the same. Like, it's you
Yeah.
know, so her and Swan. So it's great.
Yeah.
I think it was a nice choice to leave it and to take it out. And I agree. I think it was way too convoluted and slow to get in. Frankly, the same way the actual prologue to the Eye of the World is.
Yeah. Oh, that's really disjointing, isn't it? You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's tough. You're like, who are these people? What's happening? Wait, now they're gone.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then
you can always tell people to, when they pick up the books, skip the prologue.
Yeah,
It will
Yeah.
make a difference. You know?
Yeah.
I got stuck in it for a while when I first
Mhm.
started in 97 in the 7th grade.
it's plus they've already done it. So
yeah. And Winter's Dragon. We didn't mind Winter's Dragon.
yeah, we've seen it.
It's already out there.
Oh my God, Winter's
canon.
Dragon is
Canonized.
like the there's like a
Prologue,
huge gap
prologue.
between it as well. So it's almost it's
Yeah.
just like the prologue.
Just point everyone to that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly how that happened. Yeah, I think that's also why they didn't go there. Is it's like we're going to introduce the audience to the stakes of this particular place in this particular world and these actors who we will then shelve
Mhm.
for a very long time. And it's like
Right.
these moments in storytelling are so, and I don't have to tell Jen this. I always feel so silly when I'm talking to Jen, like, oh, like I'm telling Jen, who has a much more illustrious career than me,
Yeah.
but like, you know, those precious moments are at those, you have 60 minutes to tell a story, if that. And, you know, they get a few more minutes because streaming, you know, there's a little more allowance, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's hard to waste it and our precious audience attention
Yeah.
on something that they're not going to understand. People get very mad when they don't understand things.
And the choices, like yeah, they do. And also, like, you know, just when they made the decision that the mystery was going to be who's the Dragon Reborn in season 1, the mystery of season 1. They
thought it
also, the other thing that was nice was by taking out in the pilot, we actually had the scene with Rand and Tam saying like, there was a baby in the snow and I brought you home.
Yeah.
And so they took that out of the pilot to leave that mystery for, because that would have just told us all right there
right.
that it was Rand. They saved it for Blood Snow. And they showed us that story from the perspective of or at the point of the baby, not at the point of Katara.
Right.
Because honestly, who cares if some old blind Aes Sedai in the middle of the tower tells us the story? Like, we didn't know her or care about her.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they brought that scene back in season 2, that's actually, the scene isn't about Katara. That's a scene about Swan and Moraine and their relationship and why they couldn't.
It's such a bookend to the end of that episode too.
Well,
Yeah.
And as a kind of a metonym, it's about Rand's destabilizing effect on everything
Right.
Yes.
through Moraine and Swan's relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And like how much both of them have had to give up for him at this point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I
And you
mean,
not even be aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no idea.
and then you're kind of like, you ungrateful little shit. Imagine going through all that. And then Rand acts this way, with the way that he acts towards Moraine in the first season.
Oh
I
my
like,
God,
you
yeah.
ungrateful little shit. Do you know? I haven't talked to my girlfriend in months for you, in years for you. Like, absolutely not. I would have ridden away from him too.
Yeah.
It's like when you have I was a former teacher, so Meg and I know sometimes you have to distance yourself from a child for a second. You're like, I have to remember that this is a child and not his fault. I gotta walk away from the moment for a second and collect myself.
Right.
Yeah,
it really
I
gives you
think-
that you feel invested in them so much more seeing that scene in the second season rather than seeing it in the beginning.
Yeah. It's a great
Yeah.
choice.
I think it was smart because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are like, where was this? But we have to remember that we are not the people that they are writing this for.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're writing this for new fans, to create new fans. Like, they're writing it from what I like to say is they're writing it for my mother who has never engaged in fantasy beyond Game of Thrones, the show. Like, she has seen the show, and not only that, but then every day that Game of Thrones would come out, after Game of Thrones, she'd call me and have me walk her through what happened. Like, I'm here for the blood and the gore, and I'm here for the shocks, but I don't understand any of the politics or the dynamics that are happening. And so I'd have to like walk her through and be like, okay, so remember this guy? Like,
Are the blondes all related? Yes.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, but now there's a new blonde.
This is not a knock on her, by the way.
Yeah.
No,
By any means.
it's confusing.
It's
Yeah.
valid.
They're incestuous and they all look alike.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
It took me watching the show to realize that Tyrion and Tywin were not the same person in the book, because it really confused me in the book. I was like, wait, Tyrion, I just thought they were the same person. I couldn't separate them in my mind because the names were so fucking similar. And I had
like
to
all
watch
the
the show.
Aes Sedai.
Yeah,
and all the
We're going to talk about similar names. So Robert Jordan, I think, hated ADHD people and wanted them to have the hardest time reading these books.
Same,
Possible.
Saren.
Yeah.
We're in Night of
Julian.
Dreams right now, and I'll be vague, but there's a character named Mishima and a character named Mishima, and they're in the same plot.
I want to die. I want. And so, Rafe has a hell of a task when it comes to just having to like give all of this exposition, especially because it's a really complicated thing, being like, okay, so the world ended, but like not completely. And now it's going to end
fast forward.
again, but in a good way, hopefully.
We brought it back, but like we didn't really bring it back. But like we're bringing it back, but maybe we won't bring it back.
Yeah.
Adapting books for film and television is truly one of my favorite things. Like it's one of the things I love to write, and have done and sort of made a process of that. But also I just love to break it down, and just side note, 3 Body Problem dropped this week. And so Zach, my 14-year-old, has been started reading 3 Body Problem when he was 12, and he's been obsessed with that book series, loves it. But he's been so nervous, and I'm like, you're not going to be a book cloak, Zach. You're going to be okay with changes. There's going to be changes. You're going to be okay. And he's like, no, I know. And he knows, because he's invested a wheel of time, so he gets it and he understands why things have to change.
But he hasn't read it either.
Right, but he hasn't read it yet. But 3 Body he's read, and it's so precious to him. And so we watched the pilot, and there was one thing he was really worried about that happened in the pilot, and he was like, okay, I think I'm okay with that. But they did a lot of the same thing of like having to really change some characters. I think they gender swapped a few characters, but they definitely the book is Chinese. Most of the main characters are Chinese in the book, and they're making this for a broader audience, and it's a more diverse cast. And I thought they made really strong choices in the beginning of that as well. It's not an easy task, and they're gonna get killed by book lovers who are gonna be like, nah, you can't do it.
I read that first book of that series like 10 years ago, and as I recall, it starts in the Cultural Revolution, and then you spend one chapter in the Cultural Revolution, and then it skips ahead 50, 60 years.
Oh, hard.
And there's only like one character who carries through.
Oh, hard.
Yeah.
Second book introduces all new characters.
Yeah.
Third book introduces 2 more brand new characters who are absolutely not visible in the first 2 books, but are integral to the story. And so
I should finish.
It's great because in the series they're like, you can't bring in the Thomas Wade and wait until the 3rd season or the 4th season or however many seasons we're going to have. So they've introduced all those characters right in the first episode, and they've connected them in a way that they're sort of connected in the books, but like made it a little more organic. And I'm like, this is just everybody's way in. It's great. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think people forget with TV, with a book, for some reason I don't understand the hold that books seem to have over people in this way. Like I want to figure it out, because people will give it hundreds of pages before they put that book away. They will force themselves to finish it so that they can leave that Goodreads review and cross it off their list. Like Gus claims that you didn't actually read a book unless you finished it, so you can't count it on as towards your reading goal.
I said it can't count as a finished book on Goodreads.
I just disagree with
If you read 150 pages of a 700-page book, you can't count that as one completed book. You can count it as 150 pages on Storygraph.
I gave it 100.
But you can't count it as a completed book.
I watched Wheel of Time. You watched 10 minutes. Yeah, I watched Wheel of Time. No, you didn't.
Yeah,
you did.
Oh, Ellie, you've read the entire Wheel of Time. You're on book 11.
I have precious minutes on this book. Okay,
I say this, but I never finish video games. I get to the last boss, and then I go I'll do it later because I don't want to be done with it.
Right.
We're
Yes.
frustrated that it took us years
I
to
never
watch.
fought Calamity Ganon. I
Same.
never fought the final boss of Metroid
Oh,
Dread.
I mean, I
I
do
love those
eventually do it, but I've been on the final boss of Tears of the Kingdom for like 9 months now.
We're
I'm
also
Truly,
like, I
though,
don't want to
like-
finish it.
Oh my
Megan's
god.
Megan's
no.
now the third wheel.
I'm
Megan is
dying.
like
Stop.
finishes everything instantly. She's like, I'm there, I'm done, it's done. Put it away. Go
Oh,
to the next one.
we wait for years to watch certain shows finales. Like if we really like a show, we just like don't watch the finale for like
I still
3
haven't watched the
years.
last episode of Game of Thrones, but that's kind of by choice.
I've seen it.
Fair.
Wait, no, I haven't seen it
Yeah,
either.
you haven't seen it.
Wait, yeah, we do this thing where when we love a show, we like never watch the finale. It's like
You
a weird
haven't
thing
finished
about
Battlestar
us.
yet.
This is like leaving 99,999 unread messages in your inbox, and it would
Oh, I
kill
have.
me.
Oh, we
It
do
would
that too.
kill
We're
me.
those kind of people.
Shut
We're
up,
really
shut up,
bad.
Megan. Shut up, Megan.
Meg would be stressed out by us and how we live. our
Megan's
lives.
stressed out by
Meg-
me.
Meg
a
is
lot.
stressed out, yeah.
So yeah, so I think people forget though that there's with TV, it's a matter of changing the channel. So it's like you have to grab people within. I mean, what people tell me is like the first 5 minutes.
Mhm.
I mean, that's like can be long. It's like really, it's got to be like the first minute, and you just suck people in.
Even more with streaming, because I mean, when you had to do appointment television, you
Yeah.
had at least blocked out, okay, I can watch this from this time to this time. That's my only
Yeah.
chance, so I
Yeah.
should see if I like it or not. But now, if
And there's
I-
nothing else on at the same time that I want to
Yeah.
watch instead. So
Yeah,
right.
I'm not doing anything else. But now it's like, well, I could be watching anything,
Mhm.
playing
Yeah.
anything, reading anything. So
Mhm.
why am I going to do this thing that I don't enjoy?
And I
It's
don't
tough.
know if I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even just getting them to look at something new is a whole ass task. And you're trying to convince in this kind of pilot, you're trying to convince all the people who are sitting on the money that this thing is going to make them that money back. And with fantasy stuff, that's going to be expensive as hell.
Yeah.
So it better be like, it better be something that they feel like, and that's why that comparison to Game of Thrones is so important. They want to feel like they're sitting on a treasure trove
Mhm.
right now.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think that this opening scene, while like to us, this is like, the thing that starts Moraine's journey, we kind of have to be thrust more into the middle of that forward momentum.
Mhm. Starting us right on. I mean, and also like it's a really bold. The new cold open. The new is so bold. Like
Mhm.
Maureen strapping on her, putting on her
Mhm.
putting on her suspenders, and like, who is this woman? Why is she dressed so amazingly?
Yeah.
Where's she going?
Those
Like
suspenders live in my head rent free forever.
please, yes. So it's so fantastic and such a quick in and like
Yeah.
does spark you enough. And it's Rosamund Pike. Like once they got Rosamund, they were like, we don't need anything else. We just need her to put some suspenders on and walk out the door.
Yeah, it's
That's fine.
like exposition, but it's so dramatic in a great way that you're like,
Mhm.
I need to know what this woman is getting up to.
Yeah.
It's
like,
really, really short.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
So
really
important.
short. Because like I think until probably pretty late, this is a guess, I have no evidence for this, but I feel like originally it started with the Red Aja chasing the guy,
yeah,
and then Moraine, and then like after some tests or something, they were like, we need to know a little bit more about what's going on, so they just filmed the thing of her getting
Yes.
ready and talking.
I have the same theory. I have
Yeah.
the same theory because the Leandrin thing feels like a cold open. It feels like all the other cold opens that are slightly different. We don't know where and when they take place, whatever. It feels more like the rest of those.
yes,
And it was a nice choice to add in that so we see sort of the danger of what they do and also introducing Leandrin, who is the villain of seasons 1 and 2, really.
yeah.
But I also think that it was, I think they just were like, we need a bigger, stronger first hook.
I also felt the note of like start with the protagonist because otherwise we're going to latch onto Leandrin too hard.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And then
Or
Which we
Red
all
Aja.
have anyway. But
which I mean,
Well,
the
yeah,
Kate
it's
and, her,
Kate, yeah.
and her cheekbones are just magnetic.
Yeah.
They could go fall into those cheekbones. But God,
Honestly, having seen her on stage last weekend, I can attest to just her draw. Like she is, although it was very weird, it was so bizarre seeing her dressed up like someone from New York in the 20s with that Italian American accent. It was like, why is Leandrin talking like this? Like, but she's just, having seen her from like 15 feet away on stage, like she is. If she'd been this only thing in cold open and we hadn't had Rosamund, we would have been like 10 times more obsessed with as we currently are. So
Yeah.
I'm loving the conversations that have been happening lately in Hollywood around like, you know, some people have to have faces that look like they don't know what an iPhone is.
Yes.
Like we can't be all changing our face. Like, do what you want, do your thing, but we can't all be changing our face because we do need to have some actors who look like they don't know what an iPhone is. Because otherwise, and I feel like Kate Fleetwood does have that face where it's
Yes.
like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
I believe that you do not know what an iPhone is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I do believe that from you. And so
Yeah.
I could imagine it'd be really weird to see her in like jeans and a sensible top. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, like thank God it was so unusual. You know, I was like, Dominic West was on stage. I'm like, it kind of like, okay, I see Dominic West, it's fine. You know, coincidentally, I watched 300 randomly that morning, and he's also in that. So it was
That's
like
hilarious.
fun. Yeah, I knew he was in it, but I hadn't put the face to the name. And then I was
Right.
like, what's the play about? And I Googled, and because I go see these plays, and I'm like, I went and saw Medea, like Hadestown. I have no idea what these plays are about. Like, there's a Wheel of Time actor in it. I'm going to go see a stage show. Like, why not?
Yeah.
I was like, I want to know one for a change. So I Googled it, and I was like, oh shit, that's Dominic West. I know him. You know? I was like, he's in movies. Okay, cool. Knowing so much. But from him, it felt like, you know, okay, yeah, he's throwing out that accent. He's wearing those clothes. It looked totally normal. But yeah, I kept looking at Kate, I'm like, that's Leandrin. This is weird. You know?
It's like we watched last night. We watched Lisa Frankenstein.
oh,
Very fun movie.
I freaking loved it.
Very
Yeah.
fun movie. But we got, I don't know, half an hour into it, and the guy who was playing her father showed up, and I went, that's the dad from Stranger Things. And he's
Right.
playing the same character, and he has the same outfit and the same glasses.
And it's the 80s.
And
It's the 80s and 80s. And so it's like we just took Ted from, because that's what I constantly like to say from that show. I hope you're enjoying your chicken, Ted. And then he goes like, what I do? Like, it just cracks us up every time. Because we're always quoting that show. And so like he just like bopped into another universe, and it was so funny.
And that's kind of an example, Rob, of somebody going, rather than going, what else can we put this, what else can he do? They were like, he's great at this. Let's have him do this again.
Let's have him do this exact same
He can
part.
deliver the hell out of that pizza.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as that script. It's the same things. It's like trying to put this. People are comfortable with you being in the 80s. They'll be okay with that. They'll be good. They'll feel safe. Yeah.
Once they can put you in some kind of box of like people like watching you do X, they will make you do that same thing over and over and over again, because they're like, this is a guarantee. We've got her for this. We know that this works. But yeah, I'm interested too. One of the more controversial things that they did in this pilot, right, is give Matt a bit of a more difficult backstory. A lot of people are very justice for Natty and Abel Cawthon in a way where I was like, none of you have ever showed up for them in the Grinwell Cup. Ever.
I love what they did to them in the pilot. I'm like, this feels like a real family. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, rather than this perfect family and this, you know, mom and dad for all the kids and all that sort of shit, or they're an orphan, so it doesn't matter. And it's like, no, I love the fact that, you know, she's a traumatized alcoholic and he's a scoundrel, and, you know, like, why not? People, you know, it gives Matt so much to his character. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I think
and
it
makes his journey with the dagger like a little more forgiving, instead of just being a stupid brat who had to steal something from the treasure. You know, like it just
hate him less when he does that.
It does. It makes him, and it gives him like we've seen just the beginning of that journey, but you know, seeing him in the nice clothes in Nynaeve's testing, you know, and seeing him come up as Lord Matt, like we now care how he's going to get there. He's not just a spoiled brat. I mean, there's so little distinction between Matt and Perrin in some ways in the beginning. I mean, they're very different characters, but in the books, they're all from these like nice, happy farm families, and just, you know, going off doing their thing.
Yeah. And he's a big guy and he's a little guy. And
the big guy and the little guy.
Originally there was a fourth guy, but then Harriet was like, get rid of the fourth guy.
We don't need a fourth guy.
Too many guys. Which,
thank you, Harriet, from me personally, because that was a lot of people to keep track of in the beginning.
If people who are listening don't know, Jordan had planned for there to be a fourth Teviran, whose story would have started around book 5. And Harriet said, absolutely the fuck not.
Thank you for that. But yeah, I think, it grounds him a lot more as a character. All of that, like, am I a hero stuff now becomes, because we always get refrain, which I think is a really smart framing device for him as his character grows. The refrain of "you're a prick just like your father," right? And that's we understand too. Then his like deep core wound as a character, which is really important to understand, and his like internal fears and his internal monologue,
which is also kind of like an inverted view on "I'm no bloody hero." I feel like the same statement, it just comes from a different place.
Yeah,
you're a prick. I'm no hero. Either way.
I feel like I'm no hero is going to definitely grow from that.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like later, I mean, spoilers, are we allowed to talk about the whole show?
Yeah.
Other than Up to Knife of Dreams for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know, but he, you know, he blows the horn, and I saw some people going, "Oh, well, what about his arc now?" And I was like, then he immediately accidentally stabs Rand.
Yeah, exactly. He's got plenty of room.
We're going to turn that really fast. Because we can't allow him to be on a high for too long, right? Yeah. Because we have a whole show to do.
Right.
That's what we did with Nynaeve in season 1. She was on a high for a minute. Now she's not.
Yeah. Right. And like, I think it's why we gave Nynaeve the backstory that she has, because now her desire to protect people is just constant and understandable, right? We don't have to really like we don't have to have any exposition beyond the fact that she watched her parents die and couldn't do anything. And now she'll be damned if she has to go through that again. Right. And so then, of course, that protectiveness and that like stubbornness and that anger, it grounded Nynaeve from what could have been when you cast Zoe Robbins, which is angry Black woman, to like making that rooted in something real and deep and meaningful and understandable. And I think that was really important, especially once they cast Zoe Robbins, to do that. It wasn't just like, we have a Black woman and she's angry. For no reason. And then same thing with Perrin. I mean, talk about the most controversial decisions that this pilot made that I completely agree with. And I understand.
I know.
And the fridging thing, I do. And it is one of my least favorite tropes. So like
we were also worried before the show dropped. We were like, they're fridging him. They're fridging her, his wife. They're doing it. Yeah, like even before the we all knew it was going to come. We all thought it was happening, and we were so worried. And I agree with you. I'm like, that's the right call.
It was the right call because Perrin, my nightmare characters, and I've been trying to like challenge myself a lot in my writing recently and have characters that don't talk so much. Like, because I'm a chatty Cathy, obviously. And so my characters tend to be chatty Cathys, who like are really well-meaning and like really earnest and like, you know, are always, you know, like can do kind of people. And I started to kind of be like, well, let's try to write characters that maybe don't use their communication skills and are not, and it's so hard. Like for me anyway, that's like the hardest character to write, is somebody who is so internal, because then you have to really figure out a way to externalize their journey in a way that we're going to understand without like making them say
having a monologue in their head.
Exactly. And voiceover never works. I mean, it does, right? It does. Like,
if you narrate right, it can, but
people
not
don't like
often.
it. It's cheating, right? They think it's cheating, and if you do it, then you have to do it for everybody, and that doesn't work. So, in this where there's multiple POVs, then you have to do it for everybody. So, I think it was really smart because they needed to have something that made us understand that relationship to violence.
Right.
While we're talking real quick, sorry to interrupt. I have to run. I have to go rehearse for this.
Which I'm going to see in
you're
a couple of
weeks.
Yay!
Love you all. You're all amazing. I have a play to rehearse. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Bye guys. Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Anyway, externalizing his stuff. So now when he looks at a hammer and he looks at an axe, we get it.
Yeah.
And it's exactly it. He's the brooding character who doesn't speak much. And the funny thing is, in the books, you don't actually get that many Perrin point of views earlier. You know, like it takes a while. You're a few books in before we start to get the Perrin point of views, or many of them. And so, like, he's just this brooding guy, and it deepens that. It gives him a reason that we can all just like look at him and be like, yeah, you got some trauma. We get it. You don't have to tell us about it.
What they've done is they've taken all of these journeys, these emotional journeys that the characters kind of go on a little bit later, and they've just made them happen earlier.
Yeah.
And you know, in the defense of the fridging in the show, I cannot believe that I'm coming out here and defending fridging, but Perrin's got a lot of fridging in his plot line. He's got that Tinker girl, and he's got that like his whole family, right? All the women in his family, and he's got a lot of that. And I feel like we just kind of took a lot of that, condensed it, and then moved it earlier so that it had more lasting plot significance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's interesting too. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
I've always fridging is not, it's shitty, but like how else you do something like that effectively that quickly? Like it's so much harder if you. I'm not defending it, but when you try and find an ulterior way to give you all of those things that you understand about a character in other ways, like I struggle to think of ways that it's effective to get that across.
Because I had some people say like, well, why not Master Luhan? And I was like, well, then you have to spend precious screen minutes establishing who they are to each other and why he matters. Right. Like a spouse is a very fast relationship in. Like everyone gets that is a deep and important relationship that, someone would feel very awfully about hurting that person, and it would haunt them, and that would be a horrible thing. I was like, the only thing I could think of that might be on the same level, but then you get into a different problem is like a little brother. And I was like, a young brother, like, not like similar age, like young brother. But I was like, and then you get into there are people who will turn stuff off if kids get in harm's way, right?
Yeah, and then you're in the Game of Thrones pilot and you're throwing Bran out the window. So we already did that.
Oh, yep. And then you're the Game of Thrones pilot, and we have to be the same but different.
I mean, and I honestly think that was like a hook to grab people into the show that hadn't read the books.
But
in Game of Thrones, you mean, or you mean
no, in Wheel of Time? I feel like they're like, oh, I was not expecting that to happen.
Yeah,
and they were more invested because of it.
Yeah, it was super shocking. And so going back into the pilot too, there is one of the scenes that I think they did a nice job. They had to cut down what was happening during Winter Night and during the Trolloc attack. But so they've got he's got Egwene running into the forest to find Moraine, which frankly is just literal shoe leather. She's running into the forest and she almost gets killed by a Trolloc, and Lan saves her, and then Moraine comes back, and I'm like, where have you been, bitch? This whole thing has been going on for 25 minutes. Why aren't you in town? It made us lose faith in Moraine because she's just hanging out in the woods letting Trollocs attack town. Egwene leaves Nynaeve and abandons her instead of being together the whole time to see Nynaeve ripped away. That was a really nice choice. But they also send Matt into the woods, and he yanks a branch off a tree and starts a bow staff. And part of me was like, yes, we're going to see him with the staff at the beginning. And then I was like, no, he's too heroic with it. You're not going to, and the point is they are not heroes. They are blundering children who don't know what they're doing, any of them. And Moraine is the only one who can help them grow into the potential.
Yeah. They had to strike a really fine line, I think, between showing those hints of heroism, that they have this in them, that there's hope for them to get there, right? Matt going after his sisters when his parents. I was thinking exactly that, Which, by the way, they're still going to get a redemption arc during the Battle of Two Rivers, those two, or at least one or both of them, especially with Natty continuously coming up. There's no way.
Channel at some point as well, right? I mean, at least one of them, if not both of them.
Both,
the girls,
right? Bode channels later,
right?
But him going after those two. Nynaeve trying to save people and she can't, which we know is a big trigger for her. And them not hiding, they're out there in the fight trying to help people. Rand having that moment where he's saving his father. I mean, they're all getting a minute of okay, we can see that there is that potential there, but without giving them too much, because if there's too much hope for them right now, it's unbelievable that they'd have this much of a problem going forward. And then the show becomes uninteresting because we're like, well, of course they're going to win. Obviously.
They're so good at what they do. With no training.
So that's really also why I like the fact that Nynaeve got dragged off and they all thought she died. I thought that was a great choice as well, because, we quickly see her with, Lan and Moraine, but the others don't see her till much later, and you forget that by the time they're all back together. You're like, oh yeah, shit, they think she's died, and it's it gave until we saw, was it the end of episode 3, where she's like got a knife to his throat or something. And then until you see that, you know, people who don't know the books and be like, well, there's no way they've got that even the first episode. Like, no one's doing that. Don't care what executive says what, no one's doing that.
Right.
If you haven't read the books, you genuinely think, well, someone died. Like someone who was made out to be a key character at the beginning has died in the first episode. So, again, Game of Thrones were different. So
yeah, and the risks of that, like, because Moraine is clearly checking her out to see if she's the dragon in the beginning. Like she's asking her. I mean, that whole pool cleaning scene, she's basically grilling her for the information that she wants. When you watch it back, it's like, you're how old? You know, she's trying to narrow down whether or not Nynaeve is the one, and decides that she's not. But it's clear that because she's too old. But you know, it's clear that was a consideration, because especially, you know, she's so strong. I think it's interesting that because they later have kind of like a Terminator moment with Nynaeve and the Trolloc in the next episode, where we get to next episode, I think, where we get to
it's the third episode 3.
Third episode.
Yeah,
we get
to
see how she got away. But I'm like, we got to keep in mind that was like a Terminator level effort for a Trolloc. One Trolloc. We're continuously upgrading our baddies in season 2 as they get stronger and better at things. But like, we got to start her off in a place of like, she had to basically go Terminator on one Trolloc.
So good.
So good. So good.
So one thing that I always, now having read a little bit of this pilot, that I think is quite funny is people talk about like how much sex there is in Wheel of Time compared to the books. Like, firstly, there's plenty in the books. All right, let's be honest about that. It will just smash to black, so they could smash off page. But having read some of this, and I'm at the beginning bit, so I'm on like page sort of like 13, 14. 15, where like Matt and Danya are getting it on. Like, this is
written.
Explicit.
Fully out, and I was like, "Are you expecting us to actually see that on screen, Rafe?
Yeah,
like, are you? How?
I haven't read the pilot, so
I want to read this out so
like,
they can.
Please,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait,
so,
Mom and Dad, go away.
Yeah, Mom and Dad, go away. Yeah. So, it's the stables in the Two Rivers. The pitter patter of rain on the thatched roof of the stables. Horses stomping and neighing, nervous. Then a moan. Danya, yes. Camera moves through the darkness, and we see two silhouettes against one of the walls. Danya's holding onto one of the ceiling beams with her strong arms, her legs wrapped around a man's shoulders. He's shirtless. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's shirtless, head hidden beneath her skirt. And then there's a note: all sex scenes in 101 will be focused on the pleasure of the women. Likewise, the female body should be seen as strong and in control in these scenes. Danya continued, "Oh, light, yes, I'm close." Obviously, I'm not reading this as if I'm reading erotica, by the way, folks. Matt, I'm so close.
This is not a commercial.
This is not a commercial. He pulls back for a moment, moves the skirt to look up at her with his charming, slanted smile. A beat, then, Matt, Danya says. He grins, knowing exactly what he's doing when he says, "Oh, sorry, did you want me to keep going? You know, I can't hear much when I'm..." She pushes his face back under her skirt and between her legs. Close up of her right hand, clenched in his hair, pushing. We see again the beautiful woven bracelet. And it just sort of carries on. So then she rides him. And then, you know, he basically stops her going down to her knees. "Oh, we don't want you to get muddy knees." And so he can then steal the bracelet as the end goal of that scene. But it's like so descriptive. I'm like,
so descriptive.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, and this is where I feel like he was like, this is not Game of Thrones, because he was like, we're focusing on all the sex scenes will be focused on the pleasure of the woman.
Yes.
And then the next one does as well, which is Egwene and Rand. And it's, you know, he's saying, because that was one of the big things people were talking about after Game of Thrones, was just that it's like, it's all sexual violence against women. And it's like, there's almost no sex in the movies. It's in the films. It's not that, except for incestuous sex. So, you know, there you go. So it's like, you know, he's like, we're going to do this in a little healthier way here, you know, and show a different perspective. So it's like, to me, this was like clearly him being like, you want Game of Thrones? Sure. But here's the better version. Like, here's, you know, this is like, let's not just perpetuate horrible things, which is great.
I love Charlie in chat. I hope you're putting an NSFW tag on this podcast. think I was that bad, was I? You know?
No.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like this is very clearly that Game of Thrones effect. Yeah, like Jen said, it doesn't. The description that Rafe said, where he's like, we're going to focus on how strong the women are, we're going to center women in the sex scenes, like it's not going to feel, because like in Game of Thrones, even if they had the scene, like she'd be naked. She's
Yes.
like clearly still dressed, right? Like there's no,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there's none of that additional.
Yeah. He's the one that's topless,
unnecessary-
you know?
Yeah, he's the one. Yeah, he's the one that's topless. He's the gaze.
Yeah.
And so I it makes me trust, honestly, reading this made me trust Rafe even more with the show, because I was like, oh, he's really thinking very thoughtfully about like the impact of the decisions that he's making, even if it's like, you know, potential studio notes of like, let's make it as much like Game of Thrones as we can so we can sell this. So I think it's he's very thoughtful about the decisions that he's making with his casting, obviously, and also with this. I think it's really smart.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's not just a sex scene for the sake of a sex scene. So
Right.
we are establishing that Matt, like we know he's hard up for money, because I think this is after the pad and feign scene. I think
Mhm.
I'm not.
Right.
No, but it's after he's
No.
lost at dice anyway.
He lost,
Yeah.
after he lost the dice, yeah.
And so, you know, in the show, what we now see is we just have an insert shot, a close shot of Daniel's bracelet, and then later he's selling it to Pat and Fane. So essentially, they still smashed. It was just off screen, like you said. But in this scene, he is giving to her, he's pleasuring her, but then he like uses that in her distraction for the bracelet to fall off. But at the last line of this scene is he looks down at the bracelet. He looks down at the golden bracelet for a long beat, then picks it up and slides it into his pocket. But he thinks about it. It's that moment where you're also like, he's so hard up for cash. He didn't just rip it off of her. He isn't just having sex with her to get the bracelet. He's also enjoying the sex of it, like, you know, and then he thinks about it. Like, he takes a moment. He's like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
And then he does it. And it's just, you know, which we don't really see that moment on screen now in our pilot, but on the page here, I'm like, you just told me a ton about this guy,
about this character. Yeah, he also didn't let her reciprocate because he was going to take from her. Right. It could easily have been a scene in which she's going down on him and he took the bracelet.
Yeah.
It easily could have been that.
Absolutely.
But like, it's
Game of Thrones, it would have been.
Not. Exactly.
Absolutely.
It very easily could have been that, and there was very much an intention of like, we're not going to make her a victim necessarily, right? Like, obviously she's a victim of theft, but we're not going to like repeatedly victimize this woman and keep her from like having some modicum of power in this situation. Like, it's there is a reciprocity that in his mind is like working.
Matt's justifying his theft.
He's justifying it. He's like, she had a good time.
He earned it.
And like, and I like kind of earned it. And, you know, like, I'm not a complete asshole.
Right.
Because like, at least she got a good time out of being robbed.
Right.
And so, I think that, exactly. There's a lot being said about this character in terms of he's got a code of things he will and won't do. And that's important. I mean, we have to see some level of like essential goodness in these characters too, if we're going to like root for them, because there's like people we want to watch because they're awful, and we have a fascination with people who are awful, right? There's obviously, because one of the things that writers hate the most is like, make your characters more likable. They hate that note. Yeah, look, Jen just got triggered. There's a lot of discussion about that as a note. Like, make your characters more likable. Because what does that mean? Like, people are likable in different ways, and we don't need necessarily characters to be likable for us to watch them. They need to be interesting. We will not forgive boring or annoying, but we will forgive a lot if they're interesting.
I mean, everyone loves a character that they can hate. Like, oh my God, I hate them. What are they doing now? What are they doing next? Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. Like, I know so many people who hated him, rightfully so. It's just like, nobody watched Littlefinger scenes to be like, oh, what, he's so clever. He's this, like, you're watching him with morbid fascination of how backstabbing and underhanded he is. and
Yeah.
you just want to keep seeing what he's up to. He's not a
Yeah.
likable character, but he's
No.
really interesting and engaging. So like,
Yeah.
I can imagine make them more likable being very like, well, that's like saying, well, that was nice, wasn't it? You know, like,
Yeah, I mean, imagine you
Yeah.
write the pilot of Succession and they go, "Oh, these characters aren't likable enough." Like, that's the
Right.
point. You know,
Yeah.
that's the point, is they're not likable.
yeah,
But, you know, in order for us to root for them, right, and want them to succeed, right? Because usually otherwise we're signing on for like the dumpster fire that will become their lives and their
Mhm.
comeuppance and whatever that is.
Yeah.
If we want to root for them, we do have to see some level of essential goodness in these characters. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we get mad when we're being told to root for somebody, but we don't like them.
Yeah.
That is true. But yeah, so in this particular instance, we're getting the sense that Matt is a likable person. We also have to see them be capable, which we
Yeah.
get to see in this pilot as well. Like don't have to be fully capable, and they shouldn't be fully capable, but they have to be somewhat, you know, if they're just a wet blanket crying the whole time, we're gonna get bored.
Mhm.
Right.
yeah.
Mhm.
No one's a wet blanket crying the whole time.
Yeah,
And
this
frankly,
is
they
very
made
true.
Egwene more likable by staying with Nynaeve to fight, as opposed to
Yes.
running off
Mhm.
into the woods to get Maureen, which was a strange choice. I'm really glad they cut that. I thought
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah.
that was the one thing I was just like,
wrong.
no.
Is,
Well,
is
it just
there
shows
a
killing your darlings can be really helpful. Well, I'm sorry I interrupted you with that.
I was gonna say, is there anything that's in this pilot that we're reading that you were like, oh god, I wish they'd left that in?
I kind of miss Senbui, but I understand why that was cut. I do kind of miss Senbui because he's just in the books. He's such a ridiculous character, but I enjoy him. But I get that they were like, we're gonna hire this actor for like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and we're not gonna remember him by the time we come back, probably.
Well,
Yeah.
I do hear a rumor that there is Senbui in season 3.
In I heard that
The
rumor.
one they had
Yeah.
originally cast, who they
Oh,
killed.
really?
Well,
No,
I
not-
mean, wasn't that old guy that like Nynaeve tries to save originally cast as Senbui?
I don't know.
Well,
if it
yes,
was-
because in the pilot, she's trying to save Senbui. It's
Ah.
Senbui
Right,
gets
yeah,
gets
yeah.
and she's dealing with a bunch of arrows because all the Trollocs are using arrows in the thing, and I'm like, does she know how to do an arrow? Because in season 2, we all had a little problem with the
Mhm.
arrow in the leg
Yeah, this is true.
removal situation. So, anyway, but this was, yeah, it is called. It is said it's Senbui, and they have a scene prior to that, Meg, that is like a moment where he's being Senbui, and she's like, "Shut up, old man." And then later he was attacked, and she's trying to save him when she gets dragged off.
Ah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I know I did miss that a little bit too. The thing that I thought was cool was like this would never have shown up on the page or on the screen anywhere. This would never have shown up, but on the page in the script, except in one place where it was mislabeled, it says Perrin Ibarra's Forge, like interior or exterior Perrin Ibarra's Forge, or the Ibarra Forge or something like that. What does it say? Yeah, Perrin Ibarra's Forge. At one place it says Joe, does it say Joe? Yeah, Joe Ibarra's Forge. And I was like, who's Joe?
oh.
And like, was that supposed to be like his dad's forge?
father.
And but most of the time it's called Perrin's. And I'm like, to me, what that says is, yep, we decided not to put the Luhans in it. Perrin is a grown up. He is a
Right.
grown ass man, and he and his wife run they're the blacksmiths for the town. Period. End of
Yeah.
story.
It's why I think they're going to give Natty the Elsbeth treatment.
Yeah.
I think
Mm.
that scene's going to become interesting because they've shown women now fighting, so it has a
Mhm.
different impact,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because we're not doing the like women are defenseless thing
Right.
as much, which thank God,
Yes.
because
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
you got to start killing
Allie's
these
face.
women.
For those of you who can't see Allie's face right now, it's
Yeah.
a face.
Yeah.
It's a mood.
Yeah.
I'm like, if they're trying to kill you, you're allowed to kill them. Like, please God. Anyway, but I cannot believe that these books are making me advocate for the killing of women. Like, obviously that's something I'm against, but
Right.
but some of these women, we got to kill them. Like, Jesus, get it together. Like, they're trying to kill you. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And then they are like so guilty about it. I'm like, they tried to kill you. Anyway, so, but yeah, I think that it may have a good turnabout if it's like, oh, these people that maybe we don't expect good things from, when we're talking about like who's a good person and who's not and what's the difference, right? That like when the chips are down, they're able to to find that heroism within them, I think is a really strong potential choice on there. When we think they're going to run away like they did during the Battle of Winter Night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Beltane.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing.
Well, no, see, that's the thing is like in the
I mean,
script, he
there's
calls
Winter
it
Night is
Beltane.
it's like Beltane Eve, I think.
Right. And Beltane
Yeah.
is supposed to be the next day.
Right.
But in the book, in the script, they actually say like we should be, Rand says to Tam, we should be at Beltane lighting a lantern.
Yeah.
When they're back at the farm. And I'm
And
like,
they just
Right.
hang out.
Beltane's tomorrow, Rand. You're wrong. Like my calendar dates to be accurate, please. And thank you.
Yeah. But I think it was smart of them to use that as an opportunity to introduce us to the reincarnation bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because
Right.
that was a slight change that they did where they were like, oh, it's to honor, the reincarnation aspect. And I was like, that's really smart because like a good use
Established.
of real
Yeah.
estate.
Yeah.
Sometimes these changes, it's because of real estate. It's like we only have so much time and we have to figure out a way to do it as organically as we can.
And to drop it right in the first episode. Like, I mean, that's the thing is like, the Jordan book, Jordan talks about how there was not a fantasy series at the time that he could find that had, at least in Western writing, that had spiral and circular time, like, and reincarnation. And so not only like did Jordan bring it in, but then Rafe hired people in the writing room who had grown up with reincarnation as part of their as part of their culture. So that,
awesome.
Which I thought was such an amazing choice because he was like, it's more than just like, yeah, come back. It's like, how do you live your daily life like that? Which I thought was so brilliant. But to then bring that into it's in the symbol, it's in the name of the show. But how do you establish that at the very beginning of the show of like people are reincarnated? Like we kind of get that idea in the prologue of the books, but to just have the very first thing we do is see a ceremony that honors that you're right. It was like such a brilliant piece of world building that needed to happen in the first episode because it's the basis of the entire series.
It's the whole show. Yeah. Like there's some things we have to and can kick back, like how the magic works, which I was like, I mean, the ideal place for that is always going to be in the White Tower, right?
It makes so much sense to do it there.
Because they're like, we talk about how, you want to have one character that's like the novice in a situation so you can explain it to them because that's the audience stand-in. And that's like the easiest way to get exposition across in a way that feels organic because somebody naturally has to have somebody explain things to them. Because the worst case scenario is you explain something and someone goes, I know that already. Like, you're like, oh, that you hear that sometimes you go, oh God, they had no other choice. They had to do that somehow. But I think that was going to have to be explained later. But this, core tenet of the show, which is like we get multiple tries, but like, is that a good thing necessarily? Because like we could just screw it up every time. I think it's awesome. And I did not know that he hired people in the writer's room that specifically have that kind of background. This is sad that it's like, this is really exceptional and extraordinary because it's like, this should be the bar, right? It's like, if you're having that as a core tenet of your show, obviously there's more than one. That's
that's the thing too. And I don't remember if it's actually writers or if it was like consultants or writers assistants or who it was, but it was like someone who was deeply involved with the building of the show. And his reasoning was, I can read enough about like what it means to like culturally like and religiously or whatever to believe in reincarnation. I want to know what it's like when you like if you're brushing your teeth in the morning but you're coming back, do you do that differently than someone who doesn't? Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just like this brilliant
the details matter. I mean, that's what makes it's the universality and the specific, right? That everyone's always like, we need to find the universal, but we need to find the specific. It's both. Like, and that's what makes it feel real and fleshed out and interesting is when we only have so much experience in our lives. We can only experience so much of the world. And it's always through our lens of like how we grew up and what we've done in our lives and stuff. And it's always important to have that diverse perspective. And that's like what's exciting about TV is you get to do that and like create with a bunch of people. So that's really cool and also so necessary. And I feel like we're entering into that phase where people are realizing how necessary that is. But it's amazing to me that he's like, I mean, in everyone he's hiring, he's being thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
We could definitely, I think, talk about this for hours on end.
Oh. Yeah.
But we do need to sadly wrap it up.
Okay.
So I think it might be time for our game.
Great. I'm going to grab one more LaCroix. Can I have 2 seconds?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Allie are we sticking with the 5 captains now that we're down to 4 captains?
Yeah,
Or we do
I
5
think we
captains?
should, and then we just don't do. Maybe we don't do it Tirade.
Or we can pretend that Gus is a Tiralde and we can just tell him when he's supposed to drink.
Yeah. And then
Even though he's not here.
Gus owes
I
us
can
drinks.
drink
The
Yeah.
ghost of Gus.
I can
Or
drink-
Allie just drinks for both her and Gus.
Yeah, I can
Oh,
drink for that. That's
okay.
not a problem. Actually, maybe I was have 2 LaCroix. So that we can-
We only do a couple rounds, Allie. Only do 3 rounds.
Yeah. We do
Really.
3 rounds. 3 wheeling, 3 rounds. So
Wait, where did I put?
I'm sure you've played Never Have I Ever, Ali.
Okay. Yes.
But the idea behind this is we play it as if we're characters from the books.
I love it.
So we're going to play as great captains because there was 5 of us. But Gus obviously has got to go and rehearse. So now you're double parked, double fisting, whatever
Right.
appropriate
That's
phrase
right.
it is, wherever you are in the
I'll
world. 'cause-
be. It's giving hydrated.
Yes.
Yeah, you're double hydrating. There we go. So who's everyone? Ali, you're the guest. Who do you want to be as a great captain? Gus can be Esmeralda, and then we can just say whether Gus owes a drink or not.
Bashir, Gareth Bryn.
I definitely want to be Bashir.
Great.
Okay.
If
All right, there we
that's
go.
Cool.
Love that.
And then, do we want to do Gus too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want us to give you as Gus somebody that you know rather than like that?
Well,
you
because
were
like
more familiar
Rodell,
with?
I know, but I don't know him super well. So I feel like he's the only one that I feel like I would be
Yeah.
bad at.
I mean, I'm happy to be Rodell, and then
Great. You can be Rodell.
Yeah.
So we can
mean-
give Gus. We've got Egilmar
Bryn,
Gareth Bryn.
Egilmar.
and Pedro Nile.
We can do. Oh,
Is Gus Pedro
Yeah,
Nile? Is that what we're
can
doing?
we do Bashir and Pedro Nile? Is that
Yes.
cool?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's fun. I love this.
Meg, you choose next.
Wait, so who's left? Bryn
It's
and
Egilmar and Bryn.
Egilmar. I'll say Bryn.
Great.
Okay.
I will be the Lord of Faldara.
My favorite thing about Pedro Nile is finding out that he was assassinated at 90. Like, just
You
what was
almost
the
made it.
need? There was unnecessary. I'm like, he's 90. Just, I mean, I don't advocate for forced retirement, obviously, but if the like choices are assassinate the elderly or force them into retirement, I think we all know which one he would have preferred.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true.
I was cracking up. Anyway,
Ali, improv the Never Have I Ever, and it can be anything.
okay, never have I ever. I'm Bashir right now.
Yes.
Never have I ever. And this is something other people have done.
But
Probably.
Bashir hasn't. Yeah.
Ideally, yeah.
Never have I
Yeah.
ever gotten so into somebody that I chased her across a continent.
Why is it every time we play this game, I'm the one that's targeted? Every
Yep.
time.
That was actually on my list, Allie.
So last time, for context, Ali, I think Jen had Never Have I Ever. What did you say, Jen?
It was something.
Because mine was like been obsessed with the roll of a dice, and Meg was playing as Matt.
Oh, it
Right,
was ward.
and mine
I
was-
fought against 2 boarders in training.
Yeah,
Oh,
2 waters in
and-
training
yeah,
and beat them with her staff. Yeah.
Yes,
Make it to
yes.
drink twice in a row. Okay. Has Pedron chased someone? Has chased specifically? Did you say a woman, or just been obsessed with someone?
Obsessed with someone and chased them across
Obsessed
the
with and
country.
chased them across the
Yeah.
country. Words.
I think
with Rodell.
Ituralde would. I think he would have done that.
Yeah, I think Rodell did that. So Rodell was
Yeah,
drinking.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like Davram would have done that, but he doesn't need to chase Dara. She's already
No.
obsessed with him.
Exactly.
This is
And
true.
Agilmar definitely has not done that for sure.
Yeah.
Great. All right, Rob, are you going next? Meg, you go next? as well?
Yeah,
Um,
I think we're going clockwise in the.
Okay.
Oh dear. Oh god, I got to think now. Never. Oh, okay. I've got one. Never have I ever encouraged a potential son-in-law to put his partner in her place when she needs it.
Wait, never have I ever encouraged a son-in-law to put his partner in
her-
her place. Oh,
Pretty
okay.
sure
yeah.
that's for you, Bashir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for you, Bashir.
also feel like Pedro Nile would have done that also.
Yeah, you drink for both.
That's why I was like trying to think one that fit both of them. I was like, where am I
I
going
feel like
with this?
Pedro Nile would have done that.
Yep.
He gives
Yeah.
toxic father-in-law to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Never have I ever dominated a woman. Well, no shit, I have. Fuck. I don't know. Damn it, I'm drinking.
There's gonna be a lot of bleeps in this one.
I feel like with Davram, she
He
dominates
definitely
him.
has. For
Oh,
sure.
you know what?
No, I feel like Dira dominates him. No,
No, but she likes to be dominated as well.
okay, valid.
Yeah,
valid.
I'd say there are
Yeah.
a pair of switches
Yeah.
right there. Come on.
I take my drink back. I took a drink as Agomar, and then I was like, wait a minute, women are like pedestaled in Shinar.
Yeah.
Like, and they're close enough to Malkiri and the whole like
I don't think
you know,
Rodel's drinking for that either. Sorry.
no.
I felt like Pedro
No
Nile would drink
Borderlanders.
that because
Well,
of the
I
job.
was saying it first because I was like,
Yes.
Bryn would never do that to Morghese, but he definitely did it to Swan. So
Yeah.
then I fucked myself. So
Yeah. You're screwed. You're screwed. All right. Let's see. Never have I ever oh well, okay. Never have I ever gone into battle against totally underhanded against all odds and come out as a victor. So that's an easy one to
Never have I
confident.
ever
Oh,
go in
sweet.
isn't that all of us?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why we're great captains.
Well,
Is it my turn?
yeah,
Yes.
we'll go around a little bit more because
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
As long as you want me, I'm here. Never have I ever had both the Dragon Reborn and the Amerlincy nearly get assassinated while I did nothing. Right in front of me.
I feel
Wow.
like that's specific to one
That-
person.
I will be drinking
That
for that.
was
Thank
targeted.
you very much. I
This is
guess
a
he's probably
call-out.
the only one, right? Yeah, it's
This is
yeah.
a call out.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
pretty much abased himself pretty hard after that too. He was like,
He felt really
yeah.
bad about it, but we're gonna call him out anyway. Like really lacks security on that front.
Feeling bad about something does not make up for it having happened on your watch.
True.
It's true. Especially if you are a quote unquote great captain.
Yeah.
What's going
Exactly.
on?
All right, so this
Yeah.
one might be debatable, but I feel like I'm safe here for not drinking. But you can argue against me. Never have I ever been disrespectful to an Aes Sedai.
Oh.
Pedro now is drinking.
So is Gareth Bryn for sure.
Yeah. Okay, now a question. Am I show Agomar or am I book Agomar? Because book Agomar, I would say
I'd say both.
Really?
Both. Yes, both.
Just,
I
just to make
just-
Jen drink.
Just
well,
nearly-
definitely show Agomar. He's like, what are you doing
Oh, yeah.
here?
Yeah, we don't need
Agomar?
you. Yeah, that's true.
Is Davram drinking? I can't remember him ever being disrespectful to an Aes Sedai.
No, I don't think Davram
think
would
so.
drink.
I don't think so.
He's a respectful guy.
Yeah.
I feel like he gives like I always cast him in my head as Gomez Adams.
Yes.
Right. That's not a bad shout,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
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 And Dira is Morticia.
That's a never saw that though.
She's statuesque. She's statuesque, and I just love a man who adores his wife like Davram adores her.
Yeah, he
And
does.
I
worship
just feel
his
like
wife.
he'd be like kissing up her arm, and she'd be like, "Yes,
Yeah.
you know." I
Yeah.
see it. I see it.
I like
and she does raise children who like to, cause pain and torture and stab people, and
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Faila's Wednesday. That's how
Faila's Wednesday. Oh God.
Yes.
Just imagine when Grace says that she loves Fail, to be like, Wednesday Adams Fail. I don't know if that's gonna be good or bad.
I see it. She gives me a little bit of goth girl vibes. Like
Yes.
I
Mhm.
see.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah, I
for
can
sure.
see-
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Never have I ever talked smack to a queen. This is not just for one of you. This is for several
I
of
feel
you.
like Pedro now would
Oh.
drink that.
Pedronile for sure.
Yeah.
Gareth Bryn probably too. Yes.
Yeah,
Gareth
and-
Bryn? Morghese.
Yeah. And
I said Gareth Bryn. I'm drinking.
yeah.
Does Daddy Dav drink?
Well,
I-
Daddy's his cousin.
Zenobia.
His
For
cousin?
sure.
Zenobia.
For Tenobia.
Zenobia.
No,
He
yeah.
would-
his
he would-
niece.
Yeah, like not talk smack about, talk smack to. Like
Small
tell a
yeah.
queen
Yeah.
her business. And I would see him doing that for sure.
Yeah, to
Right.
Zenobia.
Wow.
Rodell, I don't think.
I don't think his.
I don't think so.
No, he doesn't really have queens, does he?
No,
Yeah.
and he has a king who he is devoted to.
Devoted to, yeah. So no drink for Rodell. Okay, fair enough.
I guess unless we count Grendel being in charge as a queen, but I don't know.
You're on thin ground there, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like that's a stretch. We're
A
stretching.
little bit of a stretch, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing yoga. We're stretching so hard.
Okay, we do have a lot of people this time, so maybe if we don't have to necessarily go 3 rounds because
No, we can just.
I'm having a very hard time thinking of things because I've drank so much.
Okay, so yours is never have I ever been unable to come up with an answer because I'm drinking too much, and now you drink because you have finally done that.
Because I have.
Yeah, and I feel like Rodell's definitely got that drunk once in his life. So.
Davin would drink to that. Yeah.
Agomar would not admit it in public, but in private he's drinking.
Niall, though.
I feel
like he's someone who's like, I've
He's
never
a
had
teetotaler.
too much. Yeah, I've never had so much that I'm not on my guard.
Yeah. I agree with
I
that.
feel like
Yeah,
it's intense.
he's like even on like his the big birthdays, he's like, I shall have
I'll have
glass,
a sip of sherry,
and there's like a sip. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or some goat's milk.
Yeah, some spiced goat's milk. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's something weird. Something where you're like, that's weird, Grandpa.
Birthday treat.
A birthday treat. Oh.
All right.
Wow, Ali, surprise, surprise. This is the longest episode we've ever done, you know? I mean,
and I'm like, this is an average podcast for us.
Right. Well, it's almost our average since we've only done 2.
We've only done 2. So
yeah, I'm bringing up your average. I'm bringing up everyone's average. I try so hard not to be too chatty, but you all are too much fun, and so it's a difficult task to not be a chatty cat. But and also I freaking love talking about structure with Jenn always. I always feel like such an idiot though talking in front of you because I'm like, oh no, but Jenn knows more than me.
No. And like you said, you've been in the executive shoes, which is like, how that game works of like what they're tailoring it to, what you're trying, all of the things that we're trying to nail down
together. Yeah. It's a challenge. It's honestly a miracle anything gets made. It's honestly.
I mean, from what you've shared today, I can believe that. I mean, I don't know about you, Meg, but it's actually half the time I've just sat here listening like, this is really like interesting to hear the other side of it. So yeah. I feel like I've been a lot quieter today than I would normally be on a podcast.
Well, Allie's right. She and I go on. We could go on. We have long text threads about such things as well.
That's fine. We like the expert discussion. So thank you for joining us.
My favorite thing is our text vents about all the things. But yeah, thank you so much. I know you're trying to get rid of me.
No, we're not. We have two little ending tiny things that we do. The first one we're going to do is we have to decide which among us was. No, there's 4 or 5 of us today, depending on when you're looking. But we have to figure out which one of us was the third wheel this week.
Right. Yes.
I feel like there's a couple candidates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
me.
Well, Rob's never seen Bluey.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're third wheeling on that one for sure.
Which is shocking. And now your homework is by next episode, you need to have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And like more than one episode.
We're not
more
kidding.
than one episode?
We're not. Yeah. Yes, because there's 7 minutes. You can do a couple in a row.
14 minutes of my life for this?
Yes.
More than you will give up more than 14 minutes of your life.
And you will extend your
very
life.
Good episode to get. Oh my god, onesies makes me just stop. Like
onesies.
Camping for me, it's camping. I can't with the Jean-Luc, with that kid.
And Baby
Wait.
Race too. Baby Race.
Is this Jean-Luc as in Jean-Luc Picard, or just this someone called Jean-Luc?
No, that's just his name. Maybe
he's a Labrador.
He's a Labrador. Wait, okay. Now we're gonna just say which Bluey episodes made us cry. So camping screwed me up. Oh, is onesies the one where it's like maybe she saw something you wanted? Oh no, Baby Race. That's Baby Race. That killed me.
Baby Race kills me.
Oh, onesies. I just remembered which one that is. Oh, that's that. Anytime the parents apologize, that's also a me journey.
Play, they talk about Chili's estranged sister, and then onesies brings it all together, and I was like, oh my god.
In honor of this, I will on Thursday, I will find a way to watch a few Bluey episodes, and I will do a live tweet thread for it. So you can all enjoy
Look
it.
at how happy we are.
Yeah, and also because this episode comes out on Wednesday, so then hopefully people will have heard this and be like maybe watching out for me doing a live Bluey tweet thread, which is
Perfect.
weird because I can't remember the last time I tweeted anything effectively more than just retweeting the Wheel of Time account or the Grin World Cup currently. So
Right. I'm so excited. This is great. Perfect.
I like want to be there while you watch some of that.
do I need to like?
I'm
Is
so
this like? Do I
passionate
need
about
to do reaction videos
Live
to it?
stream.
Is that what it is? Like a
Kind of,
live stream
like,
watching
kind of.
Bluey?
And
Like
watch
my
yourself
God.
sobbing.
I would watch
Yes.
you watch them like that. I don't usually go for like live reaction. I would do this one. I would watch this.
I'm like feeling like reaction videos to Bluey is a new thing that I think that's something that needs to be. Yeah. Oh my
Meg, what were you the third wheel about? You raised your hand. I forgot.
Just not knowing anything about the industry.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
valid.
I was also raising my hand for that, and then I remembered the Bluey comment, so I was just like, okay. But I was the third wheel last time as well because I wasn't wearing the same. I wasn't wearing
A Rob,
Rich-
which
a
I
Rob
think I'm wearing
Christensen
another
shirt.
Rob Christensen shirt.
You
too.
are
You're wearing
today,
Althor. You are.
Yeah.
So I don't
I
know.
love it.
I kind of
love
love. I love talking to people who don't know anything about the industry because I'm like, you know, a piece that I don't.
Right. Which is like being able to be have fresh eyes for it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes.
All right.
All right. So we like to end on something that we call wada positivity.
Oh.
And I do have something in mind, but if Rob or Meg or Allie have something positive that they would rather share, I can save mine for another week.
I had a small moment while I was in Bath that wasn't really for me, but apparently was more meaningful than I expected it to be.
Tell.
And it sounds really silly. It's very much connected to my life as a chef. And we were getting to the food before the play while we were in Bath, and all I was going to get was like some basic chicken nachos. Like there's nothing fancy about it whatsoever. I'm not an overly huge fan of sour cream, especially on nachos. Like I have sour cream in things, but with nachos, I'm like, I just want like some guac, some salsa, and just the cheese and whatever topping I've picked. Like just that's fine, jalapenos, whatever. But so I was ordering online, all these online systems we invented during COVID, and I put in the message, because she had a message. It was like, no sour cream, please. If possible, extra salsa. Totally okay if not possible. Because I understand that sometimes the company you work for is a bit of a dick, and they're like, if there were extras, you have to pay for it. Like protect the GP, or all those sorts of bits and pieces. I totally understand that.
It's often not you; it's the people above you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then it turned up with no sour cream and extra salsa, and I was like, brilliant, thank you, this is amazing. When I finished, we were leaving. I said, can you please tell the kitchen thank you so much? I appreciate that they did that. And they were like, oh, you were the person that put that really, really you made the chef's day. He's over the moon that someone asked so nicely for something like that. Like he can't, like he's never had someone do that. And I was like, well, okay, well, I am a chef, so I understand what it's like. And that's why I wrote that. But I didn't think it would mean that much to said chef at the time. So like that was a really positive thing. But I didn't do it to be like, hey, brighten your day. I just did it to be understanding of the situation they're in. And apparently it made
and not a jerk.
And not a jerk, yeah. And apparently it made their day. Right. So I was like, oh
well. And those are the moments that like how lovely that you followed up enough that they could follow back, because those are the moments you never know that you've actually impacted somebody.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, like you had this amazing opportunity to find out how you impacted them, but like what are all the times that you don't know?
Right.
And it's just it's humbling to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I have an effect on people that I have no idea I have an effect on, and it's important.
Every day.
Yeah. I made someone's day by asking nicely for extra salsa.
Yes. Yeah.
Like how simple a thing was that? And it kind of put me in a bit of like, even though I understood exactly where that person was in terms of what they do and what they're required of, like what's required of them, it kind of like really put me in a high, like I didn't expect it to be something like that, and it, to make their day. So yeah, that was really positive for both of us. So
it's the little things. It's the little things sometimes that really make the difference. Yeah,
I love
that's
it.
awesome. That's beautiful. Little
Yay.
positives. Yeah, I love that you end on positivity. That makes me so happy. Wait, do we all share one, or is there just one at the end?
We
You
usually
can
just
share
do.
one if you
We
want.
Yeah.
usually just do one. We've done it twice.
Because
I have
we've
no
only
idea.
had
Yeah,
you
we
have
say
to
usually, yeah.
I'm
I mean,
really
like,
happy, and I was like, I know I kind of want to hear everybody's. but-
maybe we can make an allowance for guests can also do one, I suppose, if you really
Yes,
wanted
absolutely.
to.
I didn't have anything prepared. I just was like, I was genuinely just like, now Meg go. Like, I just wanted to hear everything.
And that is why we do
Today
it.
was a week where I don't really have anything positive, to be honest, other
made
than
a
that
really
I'm on
good
spring
basil-
break.
You
So
made a really good Basil Gill though, and you're
Mhm.
so clever. I love that you came up with that. Like,
no. Nope. I gotta give credit where credit is due. I had the lemon basil martini. I don't remember. I came up with something else, and Jen was like, Basil Gill. I was like, genius. This is why you are the writer.
yeah, I was gonna say, Jen, are you a writer by any chance?
I-
Like, have you had to do a
I
quick
dabble.
I mean, the
I
way you've
dabble.
spoken today, I feel like you should do it for a living, Jen, so.
Oh, thank you. Maybe I'll
Give up the
consider
gutter
that.
cleaning, okay? Give up the gutter cleaning and the tarpaulin.
That's what I was doing.
you know?
That's what I was doing before I came in. Was cleaning the gutters because of the rain coming out. Actually,
I just always
do
like,
both.
y'all don't understand. I sit here and I'm like, Jen's talking to me. She's so cool.
Aw.
Well, that was going to be my wand of positivity, was the fact that like this like Megan and I came in and we were like, we're fans, can we hang out with this creator content community? And both, I have the two people who have been like so incredibly welcoming to me, but like both Rob, who like came to Megan and I at WalkOn and said like, hey, nice to meet you guys in person, I liked your song and you're fun and
Sounds
nice, and let's
amazing.
chat and hang out. And Allie, who I was like, hi Allie, you're really cool and famous, but like we're kind
Wow,
see,
yeah,
it's the voice again. It's the voice again. But we're writing on the same show, so can we or we're writing for the same person, can we be friends? Yeah.
I was
it's
so
just
scared
like-
to be. We met in person. We met in person. I was because I turned to Gus because I like got to announce that I finally have like written for. I finally got to announce that I was writing for Rugrats, and then Jen messages me and it's like, oh, I've known the showrunners forever, and like I write, and I looked you up because of course we professionally stalk each other in
Yeah.
this industry, and it's
That's what we have
weird.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah, you show up and you're like, I know everything about you
Yeah.
according to IMDb.
And if you haven't done it, people are like, wow, you're rude that you didn't.
Yeah, no,
IMDb
exactly.
me.
You can't.
It's true.
You have to be really cool about it. You can't
Yeah.
be like, here's a list of your IMDb stuff, but you can't. You'll be like, oh yeah, like when you worked on that thing, and
Yeah.
like you just kind of like slide it in,
Yeah,
and then
like-
and act
yeah.
all cool, and it's awful. It's awful because it never feels like you did it cool. And so I looked you up, and I was like, some showrunner messaged me, and I know she wants to meet me, and I'm freaking out.
Aw.
So we both show up and we're both like freaking, like fangirling over each other.
Oh my
And
god,
I was
love
like,
it so
I
much.
am
This
not
is
important. You are
amazing.
important. And she
I'm
was
like,
like,
no,
I'm
no,
not
no, no, no.
important. You are important. And we were like, who is important? Who is driving this?
Petey was driving. Petey and Kyle. Because
Yeah,
Kyle
I
was there,
did
and my
bring my-
10-year-old was there.
I did bring my dog because he was going through separation anxiety. We couldn't trust him.
And
And then,
I
of course,
brought-
he was howling at any siren that passed, which I guess there was a nearby fire station. So I was like, I look terrible.
And
in the
Kyle
sun.
was under the table behind us, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Wow.
Yeah. My 10-year-old was under the table because there was shade and he had his iPad or something. And
he
wanted
had
to be
it.
able to
He
look
was
at it.
trying to play a game, and there was too much sun, and so he got under the table, and it was amazing, and it was the best introduction to you possible.
I love
And
that.
so we've been friends ever since. But
Yes.
yeah, that was the funniest thing. Was both of us showed up like nervous to meet the other
Yeah.
person.
That is
It's hilarious.
That's brilliant. I love
Which
that
is
so
probably
much.
more of a Hollywood story than you'll ever hear, because
Yes.
that is the truth of like in this industry, is like you always feel like a poser, you feel like you're not enough, you feel like you're not doing enough, and yet other people are like, you've done so much, thank you for taking time for me. And it's a lot of a mutual love fest, and it sounds gross, but it's actually cool.
It's really cool. It's really cool when people show up and they're just like real people, and they're like, I'm nervous, and you're like, oh, me too. And I feel like so many people here, we're talking about the fact that you write it so embarrassing. Like there's like a weird, when you have success and your career is going, it's so embarrassing to talk about, because you're like, I don't want to,
Right.
because there's always somebody like further ahead where you're like, oh, that person is what making it feels like. And then you talk to them and they go, oh no, I'm making it up all the time. And and that person is actually what making it looks like. And then you just kind of keep doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I love this love fest, but for
Yeah.
this
My
particular
positive-
moment, I must wind it down. Sadly,
Yeah.
Yeah, my positive is I got invited to come speak, and you all seemed to have
We're
a good
so
time.
happy.
Yes.
Okay,
we had a
good.
wonderful time.
Because I was
Yay.
like,
Yay.
yeah, I always get nervous guesting on other people's stuff because I
No.
want to do a good job.
You'll have to come back
This is
again.
episode 2, so
Yeah.
we're very early on.
Well, but I felt even more pressure because I was like, we got to start it off real good. You know, I'm your first guest ever. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'll let Rob
Thank
wind
you.
us down. Fine.
We got there, folks. I will no doubt cut a fair chunk of this recording out. But if you want to hear the full thing, you can get that by becoming a patron. And then you can watch us all live when Ali comes back and Gus comes back and whoever else we end up having on. You can come and hang out with us live when we record, and you can get the full access to the full episodes that I then chop down to release to the public. So you can do that and have some fun. But yeah, please share us around. We're starting to get out there on all the podcast apps now. I don't know if we're on Google Podcasts yet, although I hear that's dying. And I'm not sure. We should be on Apple fairly soon. But we're on Spotify.
We are on Audible.
We're on Audible.
We're on Audible.
Oh, that one always feels fancy for some reason. I never know
I know
why.
it felt fancy when I found us on there. I was
Yeah,
like, "Ooh."
but it's actually like,
Yeah.
who goes to Audible for podcasts? Like, seriously?
Apparently I do now.
I love that. Well, thank you for listening, folks. Please share us with all your wonderful Wheeltime friends, and hopefully you now realize that you're not just the third wheel, because being third wheel, like we said last time, is a great thing. And we will see you all next time. So, bye.
Bye. Once again, we've proven that even when you're the third wheel,
You can always find a place to fit in
Join us next time
on Three Wheeling.
on Three Wheeling.
on Free Wheeling.